Hey, it is getting stressful. Amy's already here. This is Sandy. She said she's already, yeah, it's getting stressful. But I'm going to talk about this report because I've been talking about this shit for 2 years. And don't mind the hat. I went outside. I'm cold. I'm still a little cold. And it's just the way it is. And I have a hat, so I'm going to wear it. I'm going to keep it on. So here we go. I'm going to read from Axios, although I do have the report, the overview, Fourth National Climate Assessment, and it is at globalclimatechange.gov. You know, I'll post that on there. And there is an overview to that, but I thought that what I would do is, first of all, I'll tell you the authors. Author David Riedmiller, U.S. Global Change Research Program, Alexa J., U.S. Global Change Research Program, Christopher Avery, U.S. Global Change Research Program, Daniel Barry, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, Apurva Dave, U.S. Global Change Research Program, Benjamin D'Angelo, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, Matthew Zaugas, U.S. Global Change Research Program. So these people are not these people are good, you know, they're good. I'm glad that you guys are in the house, because here we go. You know, I'm not going to give this up. I might feel like shit most of the time, but you know what? It's a daily struggle. And hi, Marcia. Before I start, hi. We're going to talk about the climate assessment. And I've been talking about this for how long now on Environmental Coffee House? And how long have others been doing this? And finally, you know, these things are going mainstream. Of course, the Trump administration did it on Black Friday. They released the report today so that nobody's paying attention, because God forbid we all stop shop. Well, I don't shop. I'm home. I'm not even leaving. I left to go walk around a little bit in the snow. So here we go. It ain't funny. It ain't funny. Tain't funny. Hello, Denny. It's great to see you guys. And Doug, I'm glad. And Kim is here, and Marcia's here, and Kim. Okay, well, we'll get started on this one, because this is pretty serious. I chose an Axios article because actually right after I looked at the New York Times article, the New York Times paywalled me out. So screw them right now, because I'm not paying for a subscription, because I don't know what I'll be paying for in the future. Here we go. The Trump administration released a major new climate science report on Black Friday, warning of hundreds of billions of dollars in annual losses to some economic sectors without scaled up actions to adapt, whatever that was, to current changes and slash emissions to avoid future warming. Okay. The release date, on the Friday after Thanksgiving, which is traditionally the busiest shopping day of the year, is likely to bury the news coverage of its findings. Share this for me. On a call with reporters this afternoon, David Riedmiller, the director of the assessment, said the timing was determined in order to have the report come out in advance of the next round of UN climate talks, which is the COP24 coming up, beginning in Poland on December 2nd. God, I wish I could be there. I wish I could go to those, but I don't want to fly that far. What am I going to do? Canoe? As well as a large scientific meeting in Washington in mid-December. And by the way, you know that the United States is going to the COP and going to embarrass us, because they're going to bring their coal-touting bullshit science with them. So be ready to cringe. So we wanted to get this out in advance of those meetings so that folks have a chance to review it, Riedmiller said. Monica Allen, a spokesperson for the NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, said the decision to release the report on Black Friday was made in the last week or so. Okay, so they did it on purpose, maybe? Who knows? The details. The contents of the new report, which consists of 29 chapters that were extensively peer-reviewed, are bleak. The report points out that the era of climate consequences for the U.S. is well underway, and only actions taken in the next few years can be effective in addressing the scope and severity of the problem. Maybe that's why I have a hat on. Want to hide. The report release comes as the death toll from historic California wildfires continues to rise, and it finds that climate change is expected to bring more frequent wildfires and poor air quality. The report finds that under a worst-case climate change scenario in which emissions continue to climb at current rates, extreme heat would cause labor-related losses of an estimated $155 billion per year by 2090. It's so far because it's not going to come, or we'll be dead. At the same time, coastal property damage in the U.S. from sea level rise and storm surge flooding could reach nearly $120 billion per year. So, of course, you know, they got to put it in money terms, at least for the for anyone to wake up in this country. It's going to be money. You know, it's all about money. What's it going to take? Like 1 billion people dying before this shit's really mainstream? 1 million people. That's what I say it's going to take. A horrible 1 million people. The backstory. So the new report builds off findings from the first volume of the National Climate Assessment, which was released by the Trump administration in November of 2017. The second volume contains more information specific to vital U.S. economic sectors, regions, and national interests. It includes a region-by-region breakdown of how global warming is altering life and economic productivity, as well as what opportunities there are to adapt to it. The first report was a sweeping overview of climate science findings, which decisively concluded that there is no credible explanation for modern-day global warming other than the burning of fossil fuels for energy. It's another reason why I have my hat on, because I am lazy and I didn't make the fire hotter. Like a big sweater on. Shit. So I'm trying to keep my smile here, giving you horrible stuff. The report was written and published under the auspices of the U.S. Global Change Research Program, which brings together the 13 federal agencies that work on climate change issues, from the Energy Department to the NOAA. This report dives into details concerning the U.S. in a way that has not been done before. Do you think anybody will be awake? Michael Weiner, a climate researcher at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, told Axios exactly that, where we've never been before. We have been there in the doomosphere or in the climate community, the abrupt climate change community. We've all been there. And I've brought whoever wasn't into this kicking and screaming so that you would know and be ready and be prepared for what is happening. Kicking and screaming, I know it. Because 2 years ago, some were kicking and screaming. Mad at me. Between the lines, the Trump administration has allowed the national climate assessment process to move forward without interference, while at the same time expressing doubt about the causes and extent of the threat of human-caused climate change when it comes to forming its energy policies. In an interview interview in November with Axios on HBO, President Trump was presented with the first volume of the assessment, and he dismissed it. So, need I read any more of this? No, I don't need to, because we know where we know where we are. The world knows where we are. I'm really looking forward to COP24 because I'm going to show you all of Stuart Scott's interviews with scientists that he will do, and I'll try to bring them live, and we'll see what we can do. Bev says, some of us are awake. We are dragging others along slowly. Too slow. But, Daddy says, I pray he doesn't do much more damage, or we're all in more trouble than we already are. Well, the way I feel these days between my body, which hurts all the time, and that is my body's betraying me, and we are betraying the earth. We are betraying every species out there. We've known all this. Exxon knew, scientists knew. They've been screaming about these things, and here we are, like with our thumbs up our ass, going duh, because the mainstream media just got it. And do they have it? There are so many sides, so many people that are, okay, carbon capture, all this stuff. In CNN, I guess there was an article about sulfates in the air that came out. I don't have it in front of me unless you want me to find it. It's basically talking about geoengineering, but it's talking about how bad of an idea it is, too. Many people think it's a horrible idea to put anything in the atmosphere, but then we're on the double-edged sword here. If we stop burning fossil fuels, then we lose the global dimming effect. So do we bend over and kiss our asses goodbye? Not without a fight. And that's why Extinction Rebellion exists. And that's why the young people are doing it. The young people are doing it. And they're going to do it because we've left them. We've left them a landfill of shit. And it makes me feel terrible because I was not awake. And when I was awake, I went back to sleep. And so many of us did because we had to earn a living or we had to do whatever we had to do. I knew, though. Okay. Now, Jerome, interestingly enough, he says, not all of us. Everything is a consequence of the actions of the 1%. Well, of course, the 1%ers have a huge, huge stake in this because they are the fossil fuel industry. And Michael says, mainstream media is owned by the oligarchy, can't be trusted. I can't agree with you on everything. There is some wonderful climate change and environmental reporting going on by some of these New York Times and the Washington Post and some of these mainstream places, because these news outlets, because they have the money. They have the money to be able to put these stories together. I don't. I don't. So Denny is saying that it's finally snowing in Finland, but Greenland and Iceland still have no snow. I'll have to ask my buddy Max up in Finland. And then Torstein's in Greenland. They have no snow. It was warmer there, up there, than it was where I am. Last night it was 3 degrees in the middle of the night. 3 degrees here. And that's Western New York, and it was warmer up in the Arctic. So things are upside down, and I'll tell you, the amount of denying and the amount of bullshit. I started using Twitter when I had my back surgery in June. And the amount of bullshit flying around, and the climate deniers on YouTube that come on the videos, and the trolls that find me. These people, they are just so blind. They are so not woke, unless it's just, a survival mechanism for them. So if they don't look at what's really happening, and if they look at things that they can't control, somehow they're absolved of having to feel or take responsibility, or take the step forward, like Extinction Rebellion, and we don't have time, and the climate mobilization, and scientists, Scott, it's just so many organizations out there. Well, anyway, I've kept you long enough. We have any more comments? Who's in Ohio? Denny, you're in Ohio. No flake of snow? Well, we've had, I've got a foot of snow outside. Yeah, a foot of snow. And it has been, there was snow in Louisiana, she says, and 54 in Alaska. That's Liz. Hi, Liz. Well, yeah, because the jet stream is screwed up. Because if you follow Nicholas Humphrey, who I've interviewed twice, he's a meteorologist, but he is right on target. Follow Paul Beckwith. These people are right on target about what's happening with climate change and weather and all of that. They really are. And while they don't get the views that some of these other sites get, 150,000 views about some shit you can't, that's not tangible, when these guys are telling us what is going on, and they are showing us how to find the data ourselves. I mean, I tout them so much all the time. The reality is, this is where we are. Let's see what happens. I bet it'll be more denial against denial. But the hope in the United States is what? That the young people that are in Congress, like Alexandria Ocasio or Cortez, that they light the proverbial fire under the Democrats, because that's who's in, and they force them to take on climate change as a primary issue, because everything falls under that. If we don't take climate change on as our primary issue, who's going to need health care? Who's going to need Social Security if we're not here? There we go. I don't want to scare anyone. There's so many of you that are awake. There's so many of you that are doing things, that are able to physically do things. Get out there, make a difference in your local community. Wake people up. Contingency plans in your local community. Make it better on the way down. We're on the way down. The Titanic is here. Eric. Hi, Eric. Nice to see Eric. He's saying hi from Oregon. Well, anyway, I've done enough talking, and Heidi, I'll put the report up. Okay, I will put the actual report up and do all that. If anybody else doesn't have anything else, I'm going to go and say thank you for coming and talking about this, because yes, it's really important. And just watch, it's going to be glossed over. And when you watch sports, or anybody goes on TV and does that, it's going to be all car commercials, and it's going to be business as usual. Nothing's going to change. The only thing that's going to change is the urgency to do something by the scientists that I follow. Jem Bendell and his deep adaptation, and people like Derek Jensen. There's so many people out there that are talking and writing. There's and talking on Collapse Chronicles. Guy McPherson, Dean, Carolyn Baker, Dean Spillane. So many amazing people out there talking about this and how to deal with what's happening. And Jerome says, you're not scaring me. I'm already aware of what you're saying. Well, a lot of people are, but a lot of people aren't. They got their head up their ass. But it's a defense mechanism for a lot of people. People ask me before I go, Sandy, how do you deal with all that stuff that you read? I'm like, well, I lay in bed a lot because I hurt, so I can look at the iPad, because sometimes it's a distraction. It's a distraction because it's a big thing I can't control by myself out there. I can control my body. I can control myself. And I'm trying to control how I feel so that I can still understand what's going on out there. With a little help from New York State. Thank you. Everybody have a great day. Peace. Stay home on Black Friday. Peace. Share this.